Some of you have asked how you can help us, while most of us would say we want wine. Italian Wine Podcast is a publicly funded, sponsor-driven enterprise that needs the moolah. You can donate through Patreon or GoFundMe by heading to ItalianWinePodcast.com. We would appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Today is yet another Italian holiday here, another religious holiday, so everyone's at home. There's nobody at the office, so we're going to be doing a bit of no-frills type of Ambassador's Corner today. Welcome to the Italian Wine Club on Clubhouse, and this is how many episodes have we done so far, Laika?
Oh God, check that again. I lost track. I'll get back to you, Stevie. I'll just open the file.
Definitely more than a year we've been doing, right?
Yes,
so
definitely.
I think like the 60th or something like that.
Actually, I guess it's something like 70 something.
I think Joy wants to say something. Hey, Joy.
Hi. Hello. I just scheduled the 69th episode.
Oh my goodness.
So this must be like
right.
71 or
Okay. By the way, folks, of course, Joy, the one with This Is Avatar, that's when she was dancing on top of my desk in my office. That's Joy Livingston, and that is, of course, our producer for the Italian Wine Podcast. As you know, we replay all of our interviews or calls on the Italian Wine Podcast, which will be scheduled usually on Thursdays. And we've had more than 3 million listens so far this year. So crazy. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. And I think we will be closing up. Are we still producing? What is the schedule now? What are we doing? How many more calls do we have in the month of December?
Okay, so we still have 3. So we've got Valentina Severinova with Simone Foti on the 13th of December. We also have on the 16th and the 20th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. And then, but the pods are still scheduled every Thursday, and they're the most popular pods. Although it's, when I first started doing this, we used to do it for about 15 minutes because I didn't think the attention span would be so generous. But then we do here 60 minutes from beginning to end with our Italian wine ambassador. So today our Italian wine ambassador, of course, is Matt Paice. Hey, Matt. How do you say your name? I always forget.
Italians can say Paice, but it's Paice.
Paice. Okay. How are you, Matt?
Super busy today. Today's probably the busiest day of the year for restaurants in the UK.
Why? Why is that? Not like just leading up to the holidays today?
Next week we are beset by more rail strikes. So that's taking tens of thousands of pounds of margin off our business. It's horrendous. And then the final week before Christmas, no one's.
But is that definitive? Has that been?
Yeah. No, all the big groups have cancelled their bookings. It's pretty brutal.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. So it was a busy day today.
Well, thank you for joining us, Matt. Matt, listen, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do. I know you are, of course, in the hospitality business, and you have you were acclimated as the Italian Wine Ambassador just this July, the London edition. But tell us a little bit about your connectivity with the Italian wine business.
So I'm operations director for a group of Italian restaurants in London, the city of London, which is like the financial district. They're called Enoteca da Luca. They're not really Enotecas because no one in the UK knows what an Enoteca is. They're like a hybrid kind of wine bar restaurant type thing, and all our customers are kind of city professionals. It's kind of independently owned, been going for about 10 years, very, very successful, very nice business. About 80% of the list is Italian. Lots and lots of Sangiovese on the list. Thanks to me, lots of Nebbiolo as well. And operations director means I'm in charge of like the wine training, but also I make the trains run on time, like just the day-to-day managing the general managers and all that sort of thing. It's
So what kind of first of all, are there more than one Enoteca?
Three. We've got three.
Oh, and they're all in central London.
Yeah, they're all with 10 minutes walk between each other.
Oh my goodness! So it's a cluster basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, so what kind of wine training do you do exactly?
Funny, I do kind of ad hoc training, kind of on the by the glass stuff. Once a year, I go through all of the premium wines and we all taste them together front of house. And then I've just done an internal course, like 6 hours we had about 7 members of staff. And, for us, WSET Level 2 is too broad because we don't need them to know about Californian wine or South African wine. We need them to know about European wines, specifically really Italian and French. So I kind of designed a course that, involved some bit of theory and also some tasting of French stuff. Because if you're used to serving Italian wine, if you're Italian, you don't really know what a low acidity white wine tastes like.
No, you don't.
You just go.
I was in Etna yesterday. No, not at all.
Yeah, and you don't really know what Syrah tastes like either.
Right.
And you've got a bit of a view on and so all these regions.
Actually, there is a big Syrah production in Italy, but nobody's heard of it, so it's fine.
Yeah, and the whole kind of bacon and cloves thing that you get in the Northern Rhone, they're not familiar with. So yeah, it's a bit of tasting and then kind of different theory and getting them to hopefully understand a little bit how a wine producer might think. Okay. So yeah, so that's kind of different bits of training that I do.
So I don't know if you know, but in the past, a few months ago, we had Michael Markarian. He's your fellow Italian wine ambassador, and he interviewed Sebastiano Castiglioni.
Right.
Yeah, so actually, I think it's the episode here I have from Regia, episode 928. And Sebastiano, for Cosia Castiglioni, that's his full name, he's not just the principal, but he is an animal activist, and incredibly passionate about, vegan rights. And his focus is also he knows everything about vegan-based food. It's pretty interesting episode for our audience if they want to get a hold of that. And his big thing is like plant-based lifestyle. That's his motto. So everyone should check that out. But getting back to the show today, you are interviewing Manfred Ing today. And he's the winemaker?
Yes, he is. I can see he's on the call. I know he's very shy and retiring. I'm sure he's going to step forward in just a moment. Here we go.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Manfred. Listen, so Matt, why did you choose Manfred Ing to be on the call today?
Well, I was already a fan of Quercibella, but then I participated in a thing that the Chianti Classico Consorzio did, looking for to appoint their first UK ambassador, which is a thing they did earlier this year.
So, are you the ambassador for UK?
No, I am not the ambassador. However, I was down to the final 6, and as a consolation prize for not getting the silver ribbon, the Consorzio took us all out to Chianti Classico just a couple of weeks ago, and me and Manfred and the others had dinner in Enoteca Baldi in Panzano, which I highly recommend if you're taking a trip to Chianti Classico. It's a wonderful place.
Right.
Brilliant wine list, which we didn't touch because Manfred brought lots and lots of fantastic bottles of Quercibella, including the current range and also some lovely past vintages as well. So we were talking over dinner, and I naturally said, Stevie Kim has a podcast, maybe we can help her make up the numbers.
Oh, fantastic. And, we're a little bit geeky here. This bit, this series is the Ambassador's Corner, Fireside Chat. So what are kind of the learning objectives that we should expect from you today on this call?
Yeah. So, Manfred, will talk about Manfred's career in a minute, but he's been the winemaker at Quetchebella for over a decade. This is a fascinating region in terms of, I would say, the two or three things. One of them is the regional specificity, terroir. They recently introduced back in 2014 the Grand Selezione category, the UGAs, they call them UGAs, which are just like
terrible
the
Uga.
MGAs in Barolo, meaning, trying to move and closer and closer towards site-specific Chianti Classico. So that would definitely be one thing to talk to Manfred about, is kind of learning about, the different named villages, the Ugas. And the second thing is really about, I would guess, it's about learning about, how you deal with Sangiovese and Chianti Classico, because it's notably different to Brunello or Maremma. What makes a Chianti Classico a Chianti Classico?
Okay.
So those are probably, and I guess maybe, talking about Grand Selezione, what's the future of that category? They've introduced this new, aside from the regional specificity, they've introduced this new premium category. Quetchebella have just come on the market with a top one, so I want to hear a bit about that.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be kind of the geeky series, geeky bit. I see a shout out to our fellow ambassadors, Valentina, Kevin, Andrea, Julie, Jody, Matzia. The office people are gone today. But listen, this is where I get to sign off, and I'll come back towards the end and to see if there are any additional, we have time for questions. So over to you, Matt and Manfred. This is where I get to shut up. Believe it or not, rarely happens. So you should take full advantage of the situation.
I certainly will. If I could mute you with a button, I
no,
will.
I'll do that myself. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, Manfred, you're dialing in from a yoga studio somewhere in Tuscany, I believe.
Yes, kind of. It's today, like Stevie mentioned, it's a public holiday for us in Italy. So another religious holiday that I can't remember, but yeah, away from the winery today. So nice, lovely lunch. Actually, Stevie, we had lunch at Emily O'Hare's, and she sends her regards. I know that you guys have worked together in the past, and we were at Enoteca Baldi when Matt was forced to sit in front of me, and Emily worked there also in her spare time. So yeah, she sends her regards.
Oh, amazing. Before we get, I've got a few kind of questions talking about the winery and the region, but can you tell us briefly about how you came to be at Quetchebella?
Yeah, kind of. As you can hear from my accent, I'm not from. I don't have the typical Grevigiana accent as expected in Greve and Chianti. I'm born and raised in South Africa. Studied at Stellenbosch University, and kind of from the beginning of my once the winemaking bug bit, I kind of set out traveling around the world and doing working harvest, like as a winemaker you can do these internships. You work a harvest in the summertime, so I was doing southern hemisphere summer, northern hemisphere summer, bouncing around the world, Stellenbosch, New Zealand, Napa Valley, back to Stellenbosch, Central Targo, worked up in Barolo, and yeah, kind of made my way around the world, trying my best to put myself in the right situation, work with some of the best, most knowledgeable winemakers, making fine wine, large volumes, small volumes, just get out there and enjoy myself really. And ended up living full time in New Zealand for nearly 2 years in Central Targo, and then realized New Zealand is the other side of the world. Literally, no one comes to visit you in New Zealand. So made my way back to this part of the world, and got an incredible opportunity to work in Barolo again for my second vintage at Vietti with Luca. And myself and Luca, we got on really well. And at the end of harvest, we came down through Tuscany when Luca was doing a bit of consulting work in Cortona, making beautiful Syrah, as you touched on earlier in the conversation. And we're on our way back up to Piemonte. We stopped off in the Chianti Classico and at Quercibella for a day or two here with the team. And long story short, on my way home from here, I was asked by the owner, by Sebastiano, to join the team. And a decade later, I've literally sunk roots. I'm well and happy here at Quercibella now, responsible for all aspects of production from the moment the grapes start to turn sweet until we put the wine in the bottle. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster. I've had to learn my fourth language or third or fourth language, whatever it is, but it's been fun.
Excellent. One thing I saw from your bio is that kind of when you went to Quercibella, when you interviewed, they got you into, I guess, as part of the sort of getting to know you interview process, they got you in. You said it was a technical tasting.
Yeah, pretty much.
What does that mean? You mean they were like, tell us roughly how many grams of volatile acidity are in this wine? I mean, what's a technical tasting?
No, I was literally invited to the winery to if you've been to Quercibella, we have a tasting room with a big table, and the winery team had samples of all of the parcels of wine in the winery, which would have been like the 2007, 2008, 2009 wines. That they were there, and we spent the day just tasting wines together, talking about wines that have been bottled, wines to be bottled, wines to be blended. And I was very open and honest, and provided insights to certain aspects of the wine, certain characteristics. And we were being, whatever the word is, critical but honest, and we tasted through the wines. And I think that the Chianti Classico at the time, there was a lot of change happening. It's before the Gran Selezione that you spoke about, but it's definitely the mid 2000s, the so 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8. There was a big movement to improve wine quality in the Chianti Classico, and I think we are still improving right across the Chianti Classico 15, 16, 17 years later. And I think Sebastiano was hoping for that to occur also at Quercibella and some of the single vineyard projects, which we'll speak about through this conversation. But yeah, there was an opportunity for someone with open mind who'd worked around the world. I'd had experience making whatever great Cabernet in Napa Valley in South Africa, Nebbiolo, Pinot Noir, whatever, and just something, a bit of breath of fresh air into the winery. And I don't know, right place, right time kind of situation.
Lovely. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that struck me from the visit a few weeks ago was how much Chianti Classico has been in flux for it feels like 30 years. It's still a region that's kind of on the way to where it wants to be. It compared to, I would say, Barolo, which is much more settled in terms of we know what we're doing, we know where the appellation's going, we know what the wines. Would you agree with that? You think it's still? I would say, I guess you're saying it even now, 15 years after that tasting, it's still a region that is changing.
100% for sure. And it's something that I've even noticed in my time here. Like, I'm only here for now is going on my 13th year. But even when I arrived in the Chianti Classico, we have the Chianti Classico collection, which is an amazing wine tasting. It's in February. It's the Anteprima. All the producers, we bring their wines to the old original station in Florence. And there's you see these photos on social media of hundreds of bottles all lined up there and all the rest, and everyone comes from all around the world to taste. When I arrived here at those tastings, you go around the room and you taste many producers. I can be honest and say that there were a number of faulty wines. There were wines that had technical problems. There were stinky wines. There were whatever faulty wines. In the last 2 or 3 years, I have not found a single faulted wine. The Chianti Classico, the quality is improving. It's incredible, and the Consorzio doesn't get enough credit for this. The marketing around the world, the fact that you can't just put a bottle of wine and just write Tuscany on it, or Made in Italy, or Chianti Classico, or the Black Rooster. The quality needs to be there, and I think right across the valley from where I'm sitting now, it's dark, but I can still kind of see the lights in Panzano. They're right across the valley. The quality is improving, and I think it's something it's really, really good for us in the Chianti Classico.
Yeah, for sure. Brilliant. Okay, let's talk a bit about Quetchebella itself. So, like a lot of wineries in Chianti Classico is relatively new since the early 70s. Tell us a little bit, please, about the history of the state. How big is it? What's the ownership?
Okay, sure. So Quetchebella, we're like that's really impressive that you say we're like new kids on the block, because in Tuscany some families have been making wine here for like 900 years or whatever. So relatively new. The Castiglioni family, who still own the winery now, Sebastiano is the son. They came down from Milano in the early 70s, which was a very important transitional time in Tuscany and also in the Chianti Classico. When they came down here, there was this new movement of the which today we call Super Tuscans, but at the time there wasn't a word for it. There was a quality-driven approach to winemaking. Many people at the time, and for many years, even still today, they think of the Chianti Classico. They don't even think of Chianti Classico. They think of the Chianti. They think of the fiasco, the bottle with the straw that you stick the candle on in the restaurant. And in the late 60s, early 70s, that was the problem. Mass-produced wine all over. But there were these pioneering producers who were producing these higher quality wines that were, at the time, were vino da tavola. They were outside of the designated regions. And the Castiglioni family, they saw this opportunity to get in Tuscany, to get involved, to produce a wine of this quality, of this style, high quality wine. They're big wine collectors, drinking the greatest Bordeaux, greatest Burgundy that you could ever imagine, and they wanted to get involved. So Quetchebella was acquired. In 1974 we had 2 hectares on the hillside of Ruffoli, where the winery is situated today. So very, very, very small. Today we now have more than 50 hectares in the Chianti Classico region, across different villages, different subzones, different ugas, and we also have in the southern Tuscan coastline we have 31 hectares. So in Tuscany, I mean, it's medium to small size, but the most important thing is our goal of getting involved in the Chianti Classico was to produce wines of super quality, like the Camartina that we'll speak about later.
Yeah, so in a way, you kind of reversed into Chianti Classico, because you started effectively as being, like you said, Super Tuscan producers, maybe before there was. Is that right? Before your Chianti Classico Annata came after Camartina and Palafreno.
It came the next vintage, basically. I mean, we're
Oh,
in
okay.
the 78, 79 was Chianti Classico under a different label. And then we've got the 80, the 81. The first vintage of Camartina is 1981. Obviously, the family knew that you want to make wine around here. You've got the Rooster, is the Chianti Classico. So the Chianti Classico Reserve. But the goal was always to produce something of exceptional quality, like at the time there was the Sassicaia, there was those pioneers of the revolution that was happening.
Yeah. The other thing that I know is big for Quetchebella, and also just huge for Chianti Classico generally. It was amazing seeing all these winemakers, everybody talking about organic and sustainable. I think 90% of producers in Panzano are organic. Tell us about the importance of that to you and to Quetchebella.
Absolutely. So, like, for us, for organics is it's like a way of living. Like, it's I mean, Sebastiano, who you've had on your podcast, he basically introduced the concept of organic production before it was called organic winemaking or organic grape growing, whatever. Like, we're talking in 1988, 1999. So it definitely wasn't fashionable. It wasn't marketable. It wasn't. It was him identifying that we were doing so many things wrong, and we needed to improve the way that we're doing in the vineyards. And for us, we are certified organic since the European certification is around, but it's a way of living. The Chianti Classico region, I believe now, there's more than 52 or 53% of Chianti Classico producers are certified organic. And the way the current trend is going in the next 3 years, because when you want to convert to organics, there's like a 2 or 3 year conversion process. In the next 2 or 3 years, at the current rate that we're going, more than 70% of the entire Chianti Classico is going to be certified organic, which is spectacular. It's unbelievable. Like when Quetchabella did it back in the day, many people frowned upon it. They couldn't believe it. I believe even Sebastiano's late father was like, he was against it. He couldn't believe it. Sebastiano, I believe, like even went behind his father's back for 2 years. Quetchabella was doing organics, and then he went to his father and said, we should be doing this. And he said, no, it's impossible. We'll never do it. Sangiovese will rot. It's susceptible to mildew. It can't be done. How could you imagine doing it? And he said, well, we've been doing it for 2 years, and look at the wines. They're amazing. So it's more a case of like less is more. And we speak about it a lot. Like everyone thinks that we should be doing more. You need to be adding more, spraying more, doing more. But in actual fact, if you can be more precise, pay more attention to detail, respect nature, respect what you're spraying on the vines, which is ruining it for the future generations, pay a bit more attention to that. And the rest is easy, man. Yeah, it's not easy. Organic winemaking, organic grape growing is not easy. The costs are higher. But for us, it's not about that. It's not about it's about leaving the vineyards in a better place that we found them for generations to come, and producing world-class wines. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't think organic has a great deal of value as a marketing tool. My experience is that the only customers who ask for organic wines are mad people. But it certainly is having an effect on the juice, which is the most important thing. So a customer might not know or care that it's organic, but they're going to be tasting it whether they know it or not. And I noticed as well, there's a fair few people doing biodynamic, and I think Fontodi are one, but without going the full, lunar nutty burying a cow horn at the end of the vineyard row. Do you do any biodynamic stuff, or is that?
So Quetchabella was practicing how we call like a traditional biodynamics from 2000 until 2010. So the cow horn, the manure, following the moon phases, etc. But Sebastiano's always been very pragmatic, a very practical approach to that. And as Stevie touched on earlier, Sebastiano, for those who don't know, is a visionary. He sees life through different eyes than we do. He's an animal rights activist. He's sits on the board of Sea Shepherd. He's a vegan, like almost like a vegan venture capitalist. He invests in vegan startups all around. He's a vegan, and in 2010, we decided he decided at Quetchabella that we were going to eliminate all animal products in any aspect of the production. So any of the manures, obviously the manure and the cow horn. So completely green approach. So in the winery, I mean, a lot of consumers around the world, I mean, us wine geeks, we know, but people around the world don't know that white wine has got gelatine from cow horns and ears and noses. It's got the egg whites. It's got the casein. So eliminating all of that in the winery as a fining agent is one thing, but in the vineyards another story. So I mean, Quetchabella, all our wines are vegan certified. We have no animal byproducts are used in the vineyards or in the winery. And so I mean that's the extreme approach that we're taking. But again, it's a lifestyle approach. It's a way of living for us. So I cannot think of another way. Like that's how it's normal for us.
Yeah, amazing. So talking about your vineyards, so you've got plots spread between Radda, Greve, and Gaiole. Is that right? Have I got that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We've recently also we have vineyards up in also in the village of Greve, up in Lamole, which is another one of the little villages.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's like a And apparently I'm not allowed to say subzone. Apparently that's forbidden. I shouldn't say subzone. It's an Uga that happens to be within Greve.
We can say anything we want to, dude. I call
Yeah.
them something.
Can you characterize the difference? Do you think it's possible to characterize the differences between Rada, Greve, and Gaiole?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe there's great difference. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate that I don't think there isn't another winemaker in the Chianti Classico who has their own estate grown fruit farmed the same way, picked, fermented, and followed evolution. Is part of the reason why I make Coachella, but follow it through 14, 16, 18 months. I think there's vast differences. I to explain it in a weird way, like I I smell in colors and taste in colors my whole life. The differences between Greve, Rada, and Gaiole for me when we're tasting the 60 or 70 parcels of wine that we have in a normal vintage, there's vast differences. The Greve for me is red fruit. It's your textbook Chianti Classico, Sangiovese characteristics, vibrancies, cherries. There's lift of the fruit.
Italian Wine Podcast, part of the Mama Jumbo Shrimp family.
The fruit starts to get a little bit darker, but it's not too dark, but it's like a purple or a viola kind of color. The fruit profile and everything that comes with it, maybe a little bit of lavender on the nose, but the tannins change. There's a textural component that is very unique in all of our wines from Rada that the Greve fruit don't have, the Gaiole fruit doesn't have, neither does the Lamole. It is not more tannic, but there's this is not chewy, but there's a perception of the tannins that comes through. The Gaiole fruit that we used to have, we've now released the land from there, but the Gaiole fruit had volume and acidity, but like high acidity. Even though we're picking the Gaiole fruit 3 or 4 weeks after the Greve fruit, there was a vibrancy on the fruit, like in a natural acidity with massive volume. The Laumele fruit is completely different, 640 meters above sea level, and picked more than a month after the time that we picked the Greve fruit, or the 400 to 450 meters above sea level. But there's like a violet, and it goes blue. It's beautiful, beautiful fruit. The acidity is through the roof, but there is a density like still in the mid palate that is something very, very unique. And you'll see maybe something you notice in the Chianti Classico. A lot of the top producers are all seeking little parcels or pieces of land up into the higher altitudes, right across the Chianti Classico, of which the Laumole happens to be the highest.
Yeah. And so you're allowed under the Disciplinare to go up to 725 meters? I can't remember, something like that. Is that about as high as it goes?
I think it's 700 meters in the Chianti Classico.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Talking about violets, you've just reminded me of Mammolo as being one of the blending grapes. What's your view of blending grapes? Do you prefer different ones for different plots? Would you rather be making all 100% Sangiovese? How do you feel about Canaiolo, Ciliegolo? What's your take on optimum blends at the moment?
I'm a bit of like a Sangiovese purist, to be quite honest. And
Yeah.
our agronomist used to say he thinks that that I have Sangiovese, even though I'm not from here. It's like I have Sangiovese flowing through my veins. Like I'm obsessed with the different expressions of Sangiovese. At Coachella, our Chianti Classico is 100% Sangiovese since my first vintage, so since 2010. The Reserva, which we re-released since 1999, we stopped. In 2011, we released the Reserva. Chianti Classico is 100% Sangiovese. So I'm a bit of a purist. I think if you are paying attention to your Sangiovese, the different microclimates, the site, the soil, the terroir, whatever you want to call it, the way that it expresses itself, at least for us, we don't see a necessity to add I mean, we have other wines that are blends and have different grapes in it, Camartina, etc., Turpino. But for us, our Chianti Classico is Sangiovese in its purest form, and how
Yeah.
Sangiovese expresses itself. We're fortunate. It takes a lot of work to be fortunate to have vineyards in different villages, different subzones, whatever, different ugas. So it's a phenomenal amount of work. But the expression of the Sangiovese from all of those different sites coming through in our different wines, for us is very, very important.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's the purity has surely got to be the way forward for greatness. Continuing on the theme of the sites, you've done you worked in Barolo, where site terroir is so important and so talked about and documented. What do you think? Do you think there's a comparison you can draw in your experience looking at Barolo, looking at Chianti Classico in terms of terroir? Do you think they're just alike, or are there differences in the way that different sites express themselves, or the grape expresses itself?
No, I think there's definitely a connection, how there is with Nebbiolo, how there is with Sangiovese, how there is with Pinot Nero, with Pinot Noir. I think when they are made right, and grown correctly, that they man, there's something about them that they speak like how the land, like how the soil, how it tastes, the sites, the
Yeah,
spirit of the place. And I agree 100%. And it's something that I mean, I've been blessed to work in Barolo for producers whom I I don't think there's too many winemakers who work for two different producers who have the grapes from the Brunate vineyard in Lamora, like at Cereto and at Vieti, and two different producers. But the expression of the Brunate vineyard is so distinct that I could taste them. Maybe now not, no, but in the past I could. And I think the Chianti Classico, where we are still getting there. I mean, we have the ability to do it. Sangiovese can age for eternity if it's made well, but it has never been done, whereas the producers in the Barolo have been doing it for longer. The Chianti Classico, unfortunately, I think the concept, the production of the Chianti Classico for many years was mass produced. I mean, Europe came out of a war in in the 40s, and in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They just tried to produce as much as they could, and the
mm,
wine quantity went through the roof. The quality was very low down, and I think, unfortunately, to this day, the consumer still associates the Chianti Classico. They don't even know that there is the Chianti or the Chianti Classico, or there's
yeah,
the Reserve, or even the Gran Selezione. It's just the prices change. So, I mean, the Chianti Classico region as a whole has been working very, very, very hard to arrive at the point where the Barolo producers are at. We know that their Barolo is produced; they are great wines, but many people still don't realize, I think, around the world, that the Chianti Classico has the ability. The site of a Lamole, or the site of a Greve, or in Raddo or Castellina or whatever, has the ability to speak to you when you open the bottle. But it's definitely something that I think, even with the new president, with Giovanni Manetti, the consortium is moving in the right direction, which is it's amazing.
yeah. No, I mean, tasting a few older vintages when we did our visit, it's really clear that Chianti Classico, when after a couple of decades, is really, really exciting. Talking now just on the theme of kind of geekiness, there's about 95 clones of Sangiovese in documented, at least, maybe. Do you have a view about clones? Like, do you have strong opinions about picking them? Do you use Massal selection? How do you, what's your take on the different kind of shapes and sizes of Sangiovese?
So obviously I'm at Quetzalcoatl for over a decade now, but most of our vineyards are in their 20-25 year old, and a lot of our vineyards, I mean, it's something that's very important at Quetzalcoatl. There's clonal variation. I don't think we don't think it's good to have one clone, one type of clone. I mean, we have such vast changes in altitude, in soil type, in soil potential, that we have a number of different clones. Yes, we have some of the Massal selection, some of the older vineyards. We have, how you say, Civi so CV10, which is like the Castellinville clone. We have CB5, so CB5, which is like the Casebase, the Soldera clones. We have the Laumule clones. Up in Laumule, we have these amazing. It's really good for social media. The big, beautiful old Laumule bunches, very, very big, gorgeous fruit, which we have to pay a bit of attention to detail in the winery for high quality of wine. But we have at Coachella, we have the CG 76 clone, so slightly smaller bunches, more open, more air movement. Better for higher quality of wine. Obviously, small berries, juice concentration, etc. It depends. Like for us, it's very important the different sites. I mean, you can look at the different the rootstocks is also very dependent. But it's variability. You don't want to have one close. The Chianti Classico 2000. I don't know if you're familiar. Like the Chianti Classico
Yeah,
2000 was happening when the producers, again, the governing body, the consortio, realized that they needed to improve the quality. Studies were done on different soil types, different clones, different producers. You got the Chianti Classico 2000 clone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 or 9. I don't know how many.
I think
Maybe
it's 8, isn't it? Yeah.
7 or 8 clones. We have the clone 5 is working very well in some of our vineyards. The clone 1 is working very well, which the clone 5 I think is similar to the CG76 that we have. So yeah, lots of differences, but at the end of the day, you want variability. You don't just want one expression of one site. Some are better with freshness, some are better with concentration. It's not just. I really believe that more is better.
That's really interesting because I would say perhaps, Barolo Barbaresco is the opposite direction. People tend to land on, CVT 71 or CN 111. Those are their favourites, whereas you're saying diversity is better. The
Absolutely.
Chianti Classico 2000 project, for anyone listening who doesn't know about it, is worth reading up on. It's just an incredible project the Consortio did. I guess all the way back in there, it would have been early 90s, maybe they started, or the 80s even.
I think
They,
I think in
yeah,
the late 80s, early
yeah,
90s. Yeah,
yeah, and then they set out, systematically to make it better understood, and you ended up with 8 different clones of Sangiovese called each named CCL 2001, CCL 2002, and so on. But that the result of this research, so they're now like they kind of identified that the best possible clones. Anyway, I'm conscious of time, and we better crack on. Um, what? Let's skip on to. You've talked about the vineyard, I think. Let's talk about the cellar. How do you think Sangiovese works best in the cellar? I'm a bit of a. I'd rather not be aware of any oak at all, but I'd have to say that Sangiovese does. I've found responds really well to the judicious use of smaller wood. What's your view?
yeah. I think like depends on the expression of the Sangiovese. Sangiovese definitely benefits from oak. It needs time in for its integration, for the tannins to come right, etc. We've had a big movement at Coachella where we've been finding the larger volume has been working better for the expression of the site. So you reduce the surface area to volume. You still are getting the integration. You're still getting all of the geeky wine chemistry stuff, the polymerization, the tannins, the colors. You're getting the stability, but I mean, where everything is medium toast. I even like I can spend 3 hours talking about barrels because I get called like a mad scientist. The tightness of the grain, the seasoning of the oak. I'm very, very, very specific. We are very, very specific about how we choose the oak for the wines. I'm very fortunate. I get to go over to France to the cooperages. It's a couple of hours drive, and you're in Burgundy from here, so we get to go
So,
over there, visit them.
and you're always using French. It's French oak, not Slavonian.
All French oak, 100% French
Oh,
oak.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, fine. And
yeah.
then sizes you're going from barrique to tonni to botti, or
Exactly that. Yeah, very small quantity. We have mostly our like the Cabernet is and the Merlot is going into barrels. Sangiovese, some vineyards always going. I think the Rada benefits from at least 6 to 9 months in barrel before going into the bote. But we don't have the bote. We have the bote, we call them bote grande, but they are 30 hectoliters, so 3,000 liters. So they're not that big, but still they are bigger than a barrel. But yeah,
Yeah.
500 liters is working really well with our Chianti
Mm,
Classico.
yeah. 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 I mean, there's plenty of other wines that I've tasted where 500 liters is intrusive. And yet I think with the Chianti Classico, it blends in really nicely. It's not too noticeable.
It needs to be, I think it needs to be at least 30 months seasoning of the oak. When they make the barrel, they must leave the wood in their yard for at least 30 months so it doesn't give tannin to the wine. It doesn't give structure. It's more about volume and growing the mid palate as opposed to giving to the wine. I think that's very important if you're using a larger volume.
I see. Yes. Okay, got it. Just thinking now about Gran Selezione. Tell us a bit about what your understanding of the reason for the introduction of the category, and then your one, was it the first vintage now you've just released? Am I right about that? It's just released, yeah. Okay, tell us a bit about why you've only now got into it. What are you trying to achieve with this wine, which is not cheap? I would have to say, amongst the premium Gran Seleziones on the market, Querciabella's kind of shooting, at the top end there. Tell us about that.
Oh, sure. So the Gran Selezione came along into the Consorzio, the governing body released the concept came out in 2013 or 2014, and Querciabella kind of well, for everyone there was a little bit of confusion at the time. It was supposed to be the tip of the pyramid, so quality wise, the highest quality, the lower quantity. It had to be from grapes that the producer owned or the estate owned, etc., etc. Querciabella, part of the reason why I made Querciabella was to produce a wine of that quality. When I arrived in 2010, we started to vinify all of the different subzones, the different villages separately, and we've actually been bottling single village Sangiovese since 2010. Greve, Radda, Gaiole. We've bottled 2010, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, following its evolution. So the Gran Selezione for us, there was a bit of confusion, but the reason why it almost took us so long was we've always wanted to be able to release a wine that was Querciabella made in Greve, roughly, where the winery is. Querciabella in Radda, Querciabella until we had in Gaiola, Querciabella now in Lamole. Up until 2 or 3 years ago, that wasn't a possibility. Legally, you have to write where the wine is bottled on the back of the label. We're not allowed to put in writing big across the label Radda. Now the Consorzio has been moving in this direction. You have the UGAs, we have the possibility to do it. Around the same time, our 2017, our best parcel from our high altitude vineyards in Greve, we tasted it. We believed it was of exceptional quality. We've been going back, constantly tasting all of the previous vintages since I've been here at Querciabella, and the 17 was the right moment, it was the right time. The governing body, the Consorzio, was moving in the right direction. The quality has improved in the Gran Selezione category. In the beginning, it was to say politely, there was some stuff that it maybe wasn't the best of the best in the village from the Chianti Classico region. Now they've become a lot stricter. There's tasting commissions. The quality is there, and Querciabella thought for the first. Finally, we believed that our 2017 was the right time, so we released the 2017 in at Venezia, or the first tasting was at the Chianti Classico collection in February this year and is sold out before July. So
Oh
small
wow, brilliant.
quantity, yeah, tiny quantity. But yeah, we are in the process. The 2018 Gran Selezione will go on the market in January, and it's pretty much all kind of allocated. So I mean, we're it's a small quantity. It's a tip of for us. It's small, tiny quantity, 2 to 4,000 bottles for now, all from Greve, because as of today we are still not able to release Querciabella from Radda, Querciabella from the Lamole. Lamole is still a bit confusing. We need to wait 3 more years at least until once the people in Rome They make
Yeah,
petit
that's
brun.
right. You're
It's
waiting.
still,
You're waiting on it's the government, isn't it? You couldn't
yeah.
before you can say Vineyard on the front. You actually need the feds to give you the sign off.
You spend a lot of time, a lot of your life in Italy waiting for government people to decide things.
Okay, cool. We've just got a few more minutes to go, and we need to talk about non-Chianti Classico things for a minute. We started listing your white wine Batar about a year ago, Enoteca de Luca, and it is, I have to say, an absolute staff favourite. They love drinking it when they can, and they love it's not a cheap wine, and they love selling it too. Can you tell us a bit about how that wine came to be? There was a little bit of controversy, I think, when it was first launched. Tell us a bit about Batar.
Yeah, so Batar is something that is incredibly, to this day, unique for us as a Chianti Classico producer to be producing how you say, a serious style of a white wine. I mean, it's red wine country. People drink red and eat red, so it's very unique. And I can only imagine in 1988 when the first vintage was released, it must have been very, very confusing for a lot of people in the valley. I mean, the first vintage was kind of almost made for fun. I mean, it was 100% Pinot Bianco. It was made from, depending on who you ask, I've been told so many different versions of the story. The abandoned vineyard above the winery, below the winery, next to the villa. But at the end of the day, there were some old Pinot Bianco vines that were growing there. On the label, it says how many bottles? Just over 300 bottles. So basically, a barrel of white wine was fermented and released. And first vintage 1988, and the wine was called Batard Pinot. So Batard written as in with the D, as obviously Batard Montrachet, one of the most famous historical wine vineyards on earth. And the first couple of vintages, it was 100% Pinot Bianco, and this is wine that was passed around through, I mean, the family's friends and couple of wine writers, Luigi Veronelli. People got their hands in it, and it was something so unique and so different that people were blown away by it. In the 1992 or 1993, a little bit of Chardonnay was added to the blend, and the wine was literally labeled as Batard, just so like Batard with the D, for the next 2 or 3 years. And I've again heard different versions of the story, but let's just say that the French weren't so happy that a little producer in the Chianti Classico is stealing their most sacred piece of land. And I've heard noise letters, and I've heard French people pitching up the winery. I've heard all sorts, but they weren't happy. So
Yeah.
Quattrobella, what they did was they took away the D, they put the accent on the A. Is still pronounced Batar. It still has the same meaning in the Milanese dialect where the family's from. It's still the bastard son, the illegitimate son, whatever. We registered the name, so it's ours. So the Frenchies can't do anything about it. And yeah, the name's stuck like that ever since. But it's many. I mean, I take it when I go to Burgundy and I have drunken nights with the French producers, and you wind them up. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was more a case of paying homage to a site. Like, hopefully one day we could achieve white wine greatness, and that's what we're striving for. Still to this day, that's the goal with the Batar. Can we achieve greatness for white wine in what is considered a red wine only region? So
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
very
I thought
special wine.
there was a lovely Financial Times write up that called it, I think, Tuscany's greatest white wine. So I think you've made it. Okay, we have got just 5 more minutes to go. Let's talk about your Super Tuscans, your Camartina and Palafreno. Tell us about those 2 wines, please.
So yeah, I mean, like we touched on earlier, the goal of the winery, when the family from Milano came down to Tuscany, which must have been a big deal back in the days because it's still a big deal today. The Tuscans, etc., are quite a close bunch here. But it was to produce a wine of that quality. The Tignanello, Sassicaia, these big producers, the Flaccianello, they were starting to make a bit of noise around the world, and the goal with Camartina was always to produce that, a wine of exceptional quality. At the time, it was outside of the Chianti Classico regime because there was more Cabernet Sauvignon. Even though it was predominantly Sangiovese, there was a lot of Cabernet in it. Today, our Camartina is predominantly Cabernet Sauvignon with Sangiovese, all from the high altitude vineyards of Rufli, of Grevin Chianti, where the winery is situated. So we are part of the original 22 or 23 historical Chianti Classico super Tuscan producers. So
Hmm.
it's something that it's definitely not a new wine for us. The reinvention of it, I mean, since 1999 up until 2003, it became Cabernet based, but we've always the goal at Quattrobello was always to produce wines of Camartina quality. Palafreno, 100% Merlot. Merlot is a bloody nightmare to grow around these parts with the climate changing and things getting harder and harder. We don't
You,
release
you,
it
you,
every
just
year.
mean, you just mean hotter and hotter. It becomes impossible to control the alcohol and the sweetness. You mean, or it's
And
difficult
the
in a
absence
different
of rain. Merlot suffers from hydric stress, so it's very challenging. There's no irrigation allowed in the Chianti Classico, so it's very challenging in the dry seasons.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
you're trying to find higher spots for it, or how are you
yeah.
coping with that?
We have Merlot planted at 580 meters above sea level. So yeah, we have to be a bit more attentive to in the vineyards, obviously, in the winemaking, cooler ferments, getting the picking right with Merlot is becoming more and more challenging for everyone in Tuscany. Maybe you notice, I don't know. We definitely notice people are talking a lot more about Tuscan Cabernet Franc or Cabernet Sauvignon than they are talking about Tuscan Merlots these days. And I think it's a fact that it's becoming really, really hard to produce it consistently year
Right.
in, year out. I think we find it hard at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think we encountered that much Cabernet Franc when we were out there. I think of it more as kind of a Bulgari thing. So that's interesting. You think it might have? Do you think it's going to grow the amount of Cabernet Sauvignon, increase the amount of Cabernet Sauvignon, or no? Probably people are still focused on Sangiovese. Or, that'll be there unless it's no one's ripping out Sangiovese to put in Cabernet Franc.
No one's yet, but I think you'll find people are going to start ripping out their Miller vineyards that you don't know about and putting in other other, other varieties. There's a lot of Merlot. There's a lot of producers who put Merlot in the Chianti Classico, and that's great. I have no problem with that. But is becoming more and more challenging to produce Merlot of the highest level. And it's in Tuscany, Chianti Classico, Tuscany, right across. It's the climatic conditions which we haven't really spoken about today. It's harder. Sangiovese seems to almost ride it out. This year we had an incredibly dry year, absence of rain. I mean, we got 5 mils of rain, 7 mils of rain in 2 months. Tiny amount
Oh
of
my
rain.
God.
The Sangiovese was fine. We in July we had nine. In June we had 9 days more than 35 degrees. In July we had 21 days more than 35 degrees. This year,
Wow.
2022, Sangiovese. We were lucky. In August we got 88 mils of rain. So the vintage. Everyone always says I speak about miracles. This year we did get a bloody miracle. It was unbelievable. The rain we got in August saved the vintage. The
Mm,
Sangiovese was 100% fine. It flourished. The Merlot still struggled. So the Sangiovese has been growing here on the hillsides for hundreds of years. It works well. The it was challenging. Like this year, no matter what anyone says to you, this year we had our concerns. We went on holiday in July and the forests were starting to change color, like autumn colors.
mm.
Luckily, our vines were looking good and flourishing, but it was the show was challenging.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's scary to think of years ahead. Listen, it is our hour is up. Thank you so much, Stevie. I don't know if you want to jump back in.
Yeah, this is where I usually do my special effect of like, audience clapping, but I don't have the Roadmaster with me. So, thank you so much. That was so fabulous, Manfred and Matt, both of you. Yeah, I love listening to both of you. It was extremely, extremely Interesting. I just a couple of quick questions for you, Manfred. You said I love the fact that you smell and taste in colors. You said Greve was red fruit, Rada is a bit darker, like viola. But what are the colors? I missed it. Gaiole and Lamole. What colors are those?
Gaiole, wow. Gaiole, I have to close my eyes while I'm saying this. Gaiole goes blue, like blue for me.
Really?
Yeah, like the Gaiole fruit that we used to have. Even the parcels of fruit. It's not black. It's not a darkness like completely dark, but it's darker than Greve and definitely darker. The Laumole fruit is like the color of the Giajola. There is the iris that is grown up in Laumole, and maybe it's because I live in Laumole. But for me, the Laumole fruit, when you smell it and you taste it, the great Laumole wine, there's lots of small little producers in Laumole, and the texture changes in the Laumole for sure compared to Radda Gaiole, but the fruit expression is very, very, very unique. Yeah.
Yeah, I know something about Lamole because presumably I am the official Lamolese DOCG for this year, which is kind of funny. They gave me this Giagiole trophy. Nearly killed me on the train, but it.
I was standing. I live in Lamole. I was standing about 5 meters behind you when you received that in the piazza of Greve.
That was so amazing. That was crazy. There are like 9 producers in this tiny, borgo of 80 inhabitants, 9 wine producers. I love that.
My family, we contribute 4 people to those 80.
That's fantastic. Listen, just one last thing. Can you just give us some numbers to contextualize number of labels and their production volume so that, for us to understand?
Sure. So in total production now, we're around just over 400,000 bottles. So I don't know if divided into 12 bottle cases or 6 whatever, but yeah, 400,000 in total. Our Chianti Classico is around 160 to 170,000 bottles. In the Maremma, our simplest expression, Mongrana, is between 100 and 120,000. And then the rest of our wines, Camartina, is 10 to 12, so less than 10,000 bottles. Batar, our white wine, is, depending on the season, 16 to 20,000 bottles. And then Palafreno, small quantity, 12 barrels, is like 3,400 bottles. And then bits and bobs in between, Mongrano Bianco.
Okay, very good. So listen, how many labels in total?
I just have to count. 8 commercially available labels, I guess.
Right.
And then private labels and that kind of extra stuff that we do also. But yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Manfred and Matt. Thanks again, everybody. Leica, would you like to say something? Leica, of course, is our Clubhouse manager. She does tons of work so that this can actually happen every week.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's holidays.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, Leica. Yeah, I don't have a life. Okay.
I know. I'm sorry. Anyways, next week we've got Valentina. She's actually one of the audience here. So
yes, ciao Valentina.
Ciao Valentina. So she's going to be interviewing Simone Foti. I think they met during one of the Gita Scholastic International.
Excellent. Yep. All right, you guys. Listen. Happy holidays to everybody, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you very much. Ciao ragazzi.
Thanks so much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And you're always all welcome to Sperata Coachella.
Grazie. Ciao, ragazzi.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.